anything better than talking about lesser known Wolverine villains? I don't think so. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. It's me, Amanda. I'm so happy I get to bring you this part 2. Who would you most like to see Wolverine fight in the MCU? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. Albert. Albert was an android created by Donald Pierce to be a doppelganger of Wolverine. The plan was to have Albert draw Wolverine and leading him to a trap where his partner, Elsie-Dee, would be lying in wait. Albert initially seemed to be a pretty dangerous enemy to Wolverine, to be honest, especially after he was upgraded by his partner, Elsie-Dee. Elsie-Dee did this in hopes that he would be able to take out Wolverine so that she wouldn't have to, and he agreed to help her in this. After his upgrades were complete, she gave him the name of Albert, after Albert Einstein, because now he was not only much stronger than he was originally, but also much more intelligent than he'd been previously. While still not as strong as Wolverine, Albert proved to be a pretty menacing foe, for the time that he was a foe. And friends, before I move on to this next spot, if you are loving what we do here at Top 10 Nerd, please go check out our newest channel, Most Amazing Top 10 Anime. You're not going to want to miss it. Number 9. Elsie-Dee. Elsie-Dee has to be one of my favorite Wolverine villains out there. She appears to be a harmless little girl, but is really an android created by Donald Pierce to act as a bomb, in the hopes that she could be used to kill Wolverine. Elsie-Dee was meant to operate as the bait in this plan and was supposed to not be advanced enough to fully understand the weight of her own sacrifice in it. However, when she was being built, she was accidentally given the maximum logic system. Oops. And so despite initially being a villain, she actually decided to change sides, save herself and her companion Albert, and ended up becoming an ally to Wolverine instead. Number 8. Wendigo. While more of a Hulk villain than a Wolverine villain, the Wendigo is someone who Wolverine also fought. In fact, for a brief time, the Hulk and Wolverine, known to be rivals in the comics often, would team up to fight against the Wendigo. The Wendigo was originally Paul Cartier, who was cursed by the elder gods of Canadian folklore to become the Beast after a hunting trip gone wrong caused him to resort to eating his friend who had died. As punishment for this, he was transformed into the Wendigo. His sister Marie attempted to transfer the curse of the Wendigo to the Hulk, but in the end, his fellow friend and hunter Georges Baptiste took on the curse willingly. He would also later become a temporary Wolverine villain, as then he would become the Wendigo for a while. Number 7. Geist. Geist is a villain who honestly was a little short-lived for how vile he was. He is one of the worst people, and that's what makes him one of the best villains, at least in terms of having a villain that you can really hate. Nikolaus Geist made his first appearance in the 1988 Wolverine series in issue number 17. He was introduced as a mad scientist cyborg who had basically extended his life through cybernetics. We learn that in the series, Geist had actually been manipulating politics from behind the scenes, encouraging and helping rulers into doing terrible things since the time of World War II, when he then worked for Germany, and possibly beyond that. He would rightfully so meet his end the first time around at the hands of Magneto at the end of the Wolverine story arc that he appeared in, but would later return alive again to fight against Captain America, attempting to merge with the Hydra god, only for Cap to convince the god that Geist was actually not worthy of it, causing him to be rejected by his own creation. Ooh, both of those endings are pretty good for Geist, although I feel like we should have just let him be dead after Magneto killed him. That was a pretty good one. Number 6. Solem. Solem is a newer villain to be introduced in the comics. He was created by Benjamin Percy, Pepe Larraz, and Jonathan Hickman, making his first appearance in the current Wolverine series in issue number 6. There he was introduced as a kind of like a Rocky version of Wolverine, albeit quite a different person from Logan. While Logan generally prefers to be on his own and like wallow in his past and sometimes his current miseries, Solem is more of a hedonist who prefers to celebrate life and be surrounded by beautiful people, delicious food and wine, and indulge in general debauchery. He has adamantium skin, whereas Wolverine has adamantium laced bones. Both of them were required to get Muramasa blades as well to participate in the Otherworld tournament during Ten of Swords, and jointly ventured into Hell to do so. Solem has already sold out Wolverine multiple times, despite having only made a few appearances in the comics as of yet. Number 5. Hunter in the Darkness. The Hunter in the Darkness is an interesting character. While Wolverine did once free the werewolf-like being from a trap years ago, they still remained an adversary of Wolverine. However, it has been implied in the comics that there is a sense of camaraderie between these two. Initially, when we first meet the Hunter in the Darkness, it was made to seem, and in fact some characters in the issue did think, that the Hunter was actually a more feral version of Logan. Hunter in the Darkness first appeared in issue number 34 of the 80s Wolverine series, considered Volume 2. He would later reappear but also act as an adversary. Number 4. Creed. Saul Creed is Victor Creed's brother. Not Luther, the one Victor killed over a slice of pie when he was younger, but the other one. The one Wolverine killed in a vat of mind-wiping fluid. Sounds a little weird? Well, it is from Origin number 2. All in all, a pretty strange story and series, but it's got its moments. In fact, this is also the same story where Clara Creed, sister to Victor Creed, also fights to free Wolverine from Mr. Sinister's grasp and ends up falling in love with him. I know, it's pretty weird that Logan was in love with the Creed, but that's a thing. Unfortunately, Saul sells Wolverine out, and when Saul also confesses that he can't live without Clara, Logan sees that she'll never be free as long as he's around, so he basically drowns Saul. The vat of mind-wiping fluid that's in it was Sinister's, and he was going to actually use it on Logan, and presumably I guess on other people, as it's a pretty big vat. Like Victor and Clara, Saul had a healing factor, but he couldn't heal from the drowning. As often happens with people that have healing factors, water is their enemy, and so is mind-wiping fluid apparently. Number 3. White Ghost. Roddy McLeish, which what a name, appears much later in the 90s in the Wolverine run that started back in the late 80s. He appears for only a few issues, making his first appearance in Wolverine issue 119 of that second volume. Like some others on this list, he was known for being a big meanie, and that's really an understatement here. He was said to be the most remorseless killer in the world. Initially, he befriended Logan, with both of them finding common ground in the sense that they had both done, you know, pretty awful things in their past. However, eventually Logan became kinda creeped out by McLeish, while he became more and more obsessed with Logan. Unfortunately, it was a little too late for Logan, as it turned out that the White Ghost, as McLeish was called, had only been getting close to Logan so that he could kill his then girlfriend's dad. Wolverine was not very happy when he found that out. Number 2. Hellbride. The Hellbride is a newer character, but that doesn't mean she isn't obscure. She made her first appearance in the current X-Force series starting in 2019. Hellbride appeared first in issue number 13 of X-Force during the Ten of Swords event. Wolverine and Solem both had to team up to steal matching Muramasa blades from her and her betrothed, who obviously were in hell. Crashing their wedding, they stole the blades, and Solem also killed Hellbride's new husband, causing her to forever become an enemy to them both and swear revenge on the duo. Which of course, Wolverine's like, this guy, why are you killing husbands? Don't do that. During the AXE Judgment Day event, she returned to get her revenge, and because she came up to Earth, was thereby also subject to being judged by the newly created celestial god, the Progenitor. Hellbride also seems to be the daughter of a demonic being known as the Beast, who sometimes claims to be the devil himself, going by other such aliases as Lord Azazel, Beelzebub, and Lucifer. Number 1. Athabasca Ike. Oh boy. Athabasca Ike is similar to the Snow Queen I mentioned on my part 1 of this list. Well, not similar in the sense of appearance or powers or anything like that, but similar in the sense that they both only appeared in one single issue. A one and done villain. And like the Snow Queen, it was Ike who really did himself in here. In Ike's case, he ended up being foolish enough to get close to the Hunter in the Darkness, who made pretty quick work of him. Athabasca Ike didn't have any powers, but was just a convicted murderer from Alberta, presumably from Athabasca, as his name would imply. He escaped custody, killed almost all of a family, keeping only the teenage daughter as a means of protection should the Royal Canadian Mounted Police catch up with them, kind of like, you know, a human shield if you will. While he was troublesome and mean, he was only human, and very quickly became dead by the end of that issue. And don't worry, that girl, she was fine. Wolverine made sure she was cool. And that's all the time we have for this one today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want more Obscure Wolverine Villains, be sure to check out part 1 for this list as well. And let us know if you'd be interested in a potential part 3. Goodness knows I could talk about Obscure Wolverine Villains all day. I will see you next time, but until then, you stay nerdy, YouTube. Bye!